The B-52 is a heavy, long-range strategic bomber that has become very famous, and to this day it remains the main bomber of the U.S. Strategic Air Force. Its counterpart on the other side of the battle lines is the TU-95, a heavy strategic bomber and cruise missile carrier of the Soviet Union and now Russia. Despite several decades having passed since their inception, these aircraft are consistently compared when discussing strategic bombers. Today, let's explore and compare the power of these two flying fortresses with U.S. military summary. Regarding history, B-52 and TU-95 were developed almost simultaneously in the post-World War II era. During the war, heavy bombers of the Allies, referred to as flying fortresses, such as the B-17, B-24, and B-29, leveled many German and Japanese cities. The atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were also carried by B-29s. But after the war and after the B-29 bombing raids in the Korean War, these planes became outdated. At the beginning of the Cold War, both the United States and the Soviet Union needed strategic bombers with longer ranges, faster speeds, and the capability to carry nuclear bombs. The B-52 and TU-95 were developed to meet these goals. Regarding design, after some consideration, the Soviet Air Force approved the TU-95 aircraft, proposed by designer Andrei Tupolev. This was the first intercontinental bomber capable of carrying nuclear bombs to attack any target in the United States. The challenge for Tupolev at the time was that piston engines were not powerful enough to complete this mission, while the AM-3 jet engine consumed a lot of fuel and therefore couldn't cover long distances. The turboprop engine, a middle ground between the two types, was seen as a suitable solution for the requirements. The TU-95 Bear project, a nickname given by NATO to designate each Soviet aircraft type, was approved in July 1951. And the first test flight of the TU-95 took place in December 1952. By 1956, the aircraft began to be deployed to Russian Air Force units. In total, over 500 TU-95s were manufactured until 1994. The TU-95 has a unique appearance that sets it apart from other aircraft worldwide. It has 4 turboprop engines, each operating 2 coaxial propellers that rotate in opposite directions, giving the aircraft a total of 8 4-blade propellers. A group of German engineers who worked at the famous German aircraft manufacturer Junkers and were taken as prisoners to Russia contributed to the development of the TU-95's engines. A drawback of the civilian version of the TU-95, the Tu-114, is that the propeller tips reach supersonic speeds when rotating quickly, making the aircraft very noisy and unsuitable for commercial airlines. The TU-95's wings are swept back 35 degrees, a familiar design typically seen on jet aircraft, making the TU-95 the only propeller-driven aircraft in the world with a V-shaped wing configuration. At the same time as the TU-95, the U.S. Air Force sought a heavy, long-range bomber to replace the piston-engined B-29. Although jet engines were not yet perfect at the time, U.S. authorities were unwilling to accept turboprop engines. As a result, after several years and evaluating multiple design efforts, they finally approved Boeing's B-52 project in 1951. The first B-52 took its test flight in April 1952, and the U.S. Air Force began using it in 1955. From 1952 to 1962, a total of 744 B-52 aircraft were produced. To speed up the project, Boeing employed more than 5,000 subcontractors to supply parts, equipment, and various components. The B-52 has 8 jet engines, divided into 4 pairs mounted under the wings on 4 pylons. Over time, the engines have been replaced with newer, more efficient models. Currently, the U.S. Air Force has 76 operational B-52s and 9 in reserve, all of which are B-52H models. In total, 102 B-52Hs were produced, with the last one completed in October 1962. A notable feature of the B-52 is its landing gear, which can rotate 20 degrees, allowing for safe landings in crosswind situations. Regarding purpose of use, both the B-52 and TU-95 were initially produced for carrying nuclear weapons, but over several decades, this role has become more about deterrence and defense. B-52 aircraft carrying nuclear bombs alternated on regular 24-hour patrols near the Soviet border, and in case of emergency, would proceed to their predetermined targets upon receiving a special coded order. Fortunately for humanity, it has never come to that situation, and neither the B-52 nor the TU-95 has ever had to execute a nuclear strike mission. Although the B-52 appears bulky and heavy, it is quite maneuverable and can operate at high and low altitudes. This characteristic has helped the B-52 endure over time, even though it has been considered obsolete on multiple occasions. Replacement projects involving supersonic bombers like the B-58 Hustler and XB-70 Valkyrie were not approved, and the B-52 has persisted to this day. While the B-52 has a 40-year history of conventional bombing operations, the TU-95 first saw combat in Syria, and, according to news reports, still employs carpet bombing tactics. The latest and upgraded version of the TU-95, the TU-95M, can carry various other types of weaponry, including GPS-guided bombs. Therefore, the bombing operations of a few TU-95s may not have been as effective as desired. According to Russian experts, the TU-95 is not as prepared to carry as many conventional weapons as the B-52. The two aircraft have similar dimensions. The B-52H is 48 meters long with a wingspan of 56 meters and a maximum takeoff weight of 220 tons. The TU-95MS is 46 meters long with a wingspan of 50 meters and a maximum takeoff weight of 190 tons. However, the B-52H can carry 31 tons of bombs and other weapons, double the capacity of the TU-95MS. In contrast to the short appearance of the B-52H, the TU-95MS is taller due to its high landing gear, designed to prevent the large diameter propellers from touching the ground. As a result, the TU-95MS requires a wider turning radius on the ground than the B-52H. Strategic bombers like the B-52 and TU-95 require long, wide runways for takeoff, approximately 3,000 meters, with an additional 2,000 meters safety margin in case of last-minute aborts. However, like many U.S. weapons that require comprehensive maintenance, the B-52 also demands smooth, level runways located far from the battlefield. The TU-95MS's significant advantage is its ability to take off on land and at austere airfields, even those without concrete surfaces or on bare ground. Furthermore, maintaining the turboprop engines on the TU-95 is relatively easier than the jet engines on the B-52. In summary, the B-52 and TU-95 are strategic bombers employed by the United States and Russia, respectively, both capable of carrying a variety of weapons and possessing long-range capabilities. The B-52 has an advantage in payload capacity and flexibility in carrying weapons, while the TU-95 boasts higher speeds and longer range. Both aircraft play essential roles in their respective military strategies and are continuously upgraded to maintain combat effectiveness. Thank you for following and supporting the U.S. Military Summary. If you enjoyed the content, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss any exciting upcoming videos. For now, goodbye, and see you tomorrow at this same time.